Hello and welcome to Backlinking, the PKM podcast. In today's podcast, we are talking about this. Actually, I have more of these, but these are my notebooks. This is the pocket one I'm holding in my hand for those of you listening. But I won't show off too many things, but I just wanted to show off the notebook to start with because um, what I wanted to talk about in today's episode is whether or not you should at least consider moving some of your productivity into something like a pocket notebook. I've been really into pocket notebooks and just notebooks in general lately, and it might be with the fact that I feel like it is super hectic at work. I will probably need to make another podcast episode next week about what to do when you feel really overwhelmed by all of the tasks you have to do, which is currently happening to me. Like, I wouldn't say that my system is falling apart, but there is a lot to do, and missing something might lead to missing another thing, and so on. But I wanted to do a reset video because my system is currently really cluttered. I wouldn't say that it has fallen apart, but it is really cluttered. And I use like a pocket notebook in a very like special way, tailored to how my brain personally works, because I have a tendency to believe that I have more hours available than the 24 that we all have available. Like, I tend to end up taking on too much, and whenever that's been the issue when I plan my days or when I've done calendar blocking as well. I end up calendar blocking way too much. Like, every second I will calendar block a task into. Most of the time what happens when I do calendar blocking is that it doesn't work out, since I scheduled way too little time for everything, so it breaks apart on the second item. So what I've done is that I have a lot of tasks, and I've changed like the idea of a to-do list to a might-do list, which means that everything on my to-do list will not be done. So I assume whenever I put something into my to-do list that I won't do it. Most people, they do it the other way around. When it goes to your to-do list, you will do it. I think of it as like, okay, it is in a to-do list somewhere, in an application somewhere, it will be remembered, but I haven't made a promise to myself that I will do this task. I will revisit it once I'm sort of ready to get into it and ready to like plan my day or week or whatever it is. Whenever I put it into my pocket notebook, I am currently using a Paper Republic pocket notebook, but I've used Traveler's notebooks, Traveler's notebooks as well, and I really love those. I actually purchased a new one last week. Actually, it was I purchased it last week, but I got it yesterday, and I made a video on it as well. But I have a new notebook, Traveler's Company notebook, and the point here is that whenever I'm ready to do something, whenever I've sort of made a promise to myself that I will follow up on this task, on this to-do item, I move it into first of all, I schedule it in my to-do list application, but I also move it into my paper notebook. That is when I know I have committed to doing this task. That is when it goes from a might do to a to do. So that's how I differentiate it, and I've set it up this way because I know my struggles, and I also know the importance of recommitting to a task. So in my to-do list application, like right now, whenever I feel overwhelmed, things sort of start falling apart, it will just carry over to the next day. Whenever I get too many tasks and I not able to accomplish something, it will just carry over to the next day, which means that I have too many tasks the next day and I won't be able to finish everything, and it just goes on like that. With a paper, with pen and paper and a paper notebook, I have to like recommit to that task by writing it down again, which forces me to decide if it actually forces me to do two things. The first one is that I have to decide once again whether or not this task is worth doing. This is an idea from the bullet journal method. So I have to decide again, I have to recommit to that task. That is the first thing. But the second thing, which is just as important, it forces me to reflect on things like why wasn't I able to accomplish this? Because I physically have to go in and I have to write something down again, instead of it just automatically carrying over. You can do this in a digital tool as well, but I found that whenever I try to do it, it sort of works, but pen and paper feels much better because it is much more work. Like it isn't as easy. I've added friction to force myself to think about the tasks I'm doing, because we can like run our whole entire lives on autopilot and just do all of the tasks that are dedicated to you. You might end up overwhelmed. You might end up not doing things you actually like because you're just running life on autopilot. I'm trying to avoid that. It's just been really important to me. It probably isn't as important to everyone, but it is really important to me. And that is where like my paper system comes in, is to help me recommit to tasks, to add friction, because I think we live in a day and age where like everything moves so fast. So instead of like thinking through things and taking a break and reflecting, we often end up just running on autopilot. At least I've had that experience that I just keep running on autopilot, even though I don't actually want to. But somehow I just end up doing it over and over again and just running on autopilot. I use notebooks to slow down, to take a break, to just think a little slower. You type a lot faster than you write. I also do this for things I want to learn. So there is a difference between what I take notes for. A lot of my notes, I would say most of my notes are mainly to recall something. I need to write down a task. I need to write down something about a project that is really important for me to recall it later. For example, I need to write some notes from this meeting because I'm going to use it in a report next week. I don't have to learn the things I'm writing. I just need to have it somewhere where I can recall it later. That's one way of note taking. The second way is that I actually want to learn something. I want to connect things together. I want to learn a theory or whatever it is. The way I do it is that whenever I want to learn something, it is a notebook thing. I always transfer my notes into a digital tool later. That digital tool has varied from like whatever mood I'm in, as much as I'm changing productivity applications lately. But I move them into a digital tool, but I think I wrote on Blue Sky that I do my thinking on paper, then I move it to digital. And I got a question like, how how do you know when it's ready to be moved? And the honest answer is that I don't. I just guess. Whenever an idea feels ready, it means that it is time to move it to a digital tool. And I've like incorporated all of the current applications I'm using. Still haven't decided on like a daily driver note-taking app, but luckily I have Sublime, which is sort of a note-taking referencing app, which I'm currently using. Probably won't use it as my second brain. I'm currently still looking for a quote-unquote second brain, but I am currently testing out Xtiles, but I have Sublime, and the way I use Sublime together with my notebooks is that I might have a lot of references, a lot of things I've saved from books. So let's say I'm working on an idea, not necessarily for these podcasts or YouTube videos. Some of them take a lot of thinking, but a lot of them are actually just based on my thoughts and ideas, especially the applications and the first impression videos. I just have a bunch of notes on a lot of different applications, but uh, if I have to do something that requires a lot of thinking, I might need to reference something as well that I know I have written down, or I had taken a highlight from a Kindle book, or highlighted something from a Kindle book that actually would work perfectly in that said project or thinking process. I go into Sublime, I search for the things I remember, which is often a word or a sentence or something close to it, and the search engine in Sublime is really good, so it brings it up for me. Then I take up all of the things that are related, all of the things I find interesting, all of the things I've saved myself. Um, Whenever I'm working on a project, I don't use the related cards engine that Sublime has. Or whenever I'm working on an idea, I don't use that at all, because I wanted a system that where I had already consciously decided what goes into my productivity tool, instead of having to make that decision when I'm working on something. Again, a highly personal thing. Most people probably won't do that, but I also spend a lot of time reading articles, highlighting stuff. Like, it feels like my whole life at this point, and I am really enjoying it. But the point being that I take things from Sublime, I put it into Notebook. There I mind map, I draw lines, I write even more on the things I'm thinking about. So whenever I see a quote, it might get me to think of something, I write that down. And the whole point of this is to get as much as possible down and try to connect the ideas. And at some point, I might feel like I have, let's just use a blog post as an example. Like, at some point, I might feel like there is a whole blog post here. Then I sit down and actually write the whole blog post digitally. The same goes for reports, or a lot of the times I have a lot of messy notes from meetings in my notebook. So things that I think were really important. It might be from a 1 hour meeting, it might be 3 to 5 things. But let's say I have 3 to 5 things and I have four meetings. 4 meetings with 5 things. That's 20 things in my notebook, 20 notes in my notebook that I want to use. I sit down, I connect them, and when I like work through them, I feel like I can turn those notes into a paragraph that summarizes everything. I will then do that. So it isn't like a perfect system. I don't think that your systems in general should be perfect, or you shouldn't have it really detailed, because if it's too complex, you will probably just end up giving up on the system. I can speak out of experience. So I don't have any strict rules. I don't believe in strict rules. I have ideas on how I want it to work, and then I try to use use those ideas whenever I have the chance, but sometimes I might not have the time to sit down and really think about something. Then I will just put it digitally, or in many cases, I will just use the Copilot summarization. So it all basically depends on how things are going. The point of all of this is that a notebook like this, I have in my hand a pocket paper public notebook, or if you want something bigger, even an A5 notebook. The point is that you should at least own one, because sometimes it might be good to slow down and take things a little slower, not only for your productivity. I mainly talk about productivity, that's why I'm focusing on productivity, but also in a lot of cases it will be really good for your mental health. I've journaled with pen and paper for a long time now, and I still think that pen and paper is the best way to journal. I do morning pages as well, which I wouldn't call it life-changing, but it has made it a lot easier for me to post a lot of content online, because I try to at least not think about how good something is, and morning pages has really helped me with that. Uh, the book The Artist's Way was actually really good in general, but I do morning pages, pen and paper, fountain pen paper, write 3 pages almost every single day. So there are a lot of benefits from having a notebook. I think a notebook should be a part of your system in some way. That might be a pocket notebook for whenever you want to reduce your screen time. It might be morning pages. It might be a daily planner. Like, there are so many options, but I think incorporating some sort of analog tools into your productivity system will be highly beneficial. That covers my rambling for today. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below. I will try to get back to you as soon as I can. But that covers it for today's podcast episode. Thank you so much for watching or listening.